Talk a little bit more about the collaborative nature of how your Skippy message came about. As I told you, I loved it. As a Skippy household, I found it very turnkey. I just Googled Skippy and I got my answer. It took 10 seconds to get my answer because I truthfully didn't know if my brand was impacted. No, but I know enough about the work we do internally to get the right messages out to the public, so I thought it'd be interesting to hear about that.
And like I said before, it's very crude what we do. We have Google Alerts set up, and my two comments, and I mentioned it over lunch, make sure whoever's monitoring Google Alerts understands to read when it comes up. It's not good enough to have it come up and say, ooh, Dove recall, because unless you read the body of it, you realize your Google Alert was on the recall that happened 4 years ago. So you could be crying wolf on something that's ancient. But what we did is we did the Google Alert, and we realized, because the myopic nature of it was our real first recall, so the Georgia PCA plant was a Breyer's ice cream that actually had been discontinued last year. So the sensitivity of it was a little lower, although of course from consumer services you go, hello, you know, in the back of grandma's freezer is probably 2 of those containers, so you can't assume even though it was discontinued 6 months ago it's not all gone. And it was the Google Alerts that started to see more of, you know, as soon as you hear peanut anything, it's, you know, Skippy. And that's on one of our first calls is when we recommended any of our products that have peanut or peanut related items in it, shouldn't we put a statement that says, we're fine. We didn't take that extra step and put it on other social networks. I wish we did. Somebody did it themselves because the peanut allergy group is a very tight group, so they tend to do a lot of things on their own, but they used our statement as well. So it snowballs, but it was really because you're just sensitive to the nature of it, and sometimes your internal departments are going, yep, the recall's just on Breyers. And it really wasn't. The recall was on peanuts, and that's that halo. So, and you just try to keep it as simple as you can. People just want to know, yes, there is a recall, but you know, Skippy's fine. We roast our whatever positive spin you can put on it.
So, go ahead.
I had a question piggybacking off of Mia's comment about feedback and the criticality of feedback. How much do you all advocate what I would call announcing the fix? Because I think that social media would be a great venue to let consumers know it's over, we fixed it, we found the root cause, you can safely purchase product again. Recently, a Deloitte survey came out and it said that consumers change their buying habit. 50% of consumers change their buying habit for up to 9 months or more. And I think we can really, as industry, reduce that amount of time that consumers are in question about, is this safe or is this not safe, if we do a better job marketing the fact that we fixed it and solved the problem.
Chris?
Your thoughts?
Well, I hate to sound like a broken record, but I think the answer to that question is you should use every means at your disposal. You know, I think I'm familiar with that Deloitte research, and it's frightening if you think about, you know, a recall not handled well, you can't win back a large percentage of that customer base, and it's not. And the end of the exercise is not the recall; it's, as you say, it's the fix. And you know, purchasing is so much of an emotive, you know, experience. It's an emotion-driven decision, and when people are worried about the quality or efficacy of a product, that's an emotional decision or action. So you've got to be able to touch them emotionally before you can reach them rationally. And so again, however the best means, and I wouldn't presume to know who your customer base is, but you have to look at the customer base and say what motivates them, what drives them, what works with them. And because again, you know, for the peanut butter, you know, my house is a big peanut butter household. That's a different, you know, demographic than the F-150 drivers, and it's a different, you know. The relationship between the product and the customer is very different. So it all, you just got to look at sort of what's our own experience and what's our own demographic of our customers. Say what works with them, not what works for us, what works for them.
and I found, again, our brands range from really tiny ones who have no money. So for us, Breyers, we never went back and said it's been fixed because the mentality, again, on Breyers was it's a discontinued product. Slim Fast was different. We went out, although I recommended going into the database and sending just a postcard. Can't cost much. Send a postcard to everybody saying the new product, the date is April 12th, you can buy it again. You actually got, we don't have the money for that. So I went back and said, but you've already spent about 1.6 million throwing away products. Shouldn't you spend $22,000 to let them know it's good? So sometimes all you have to do is put that value in the face, as opposed to they said, I don't have $22,000. And I'm like, yeah, but you lost 1.6 million. The only other thing I was going to say, bigger brand, Dove, I don't know if we had a recall on Dove, and it wasn't a product, it was a device, a facial scrubber thing. Scrubbed just a little too good. A little too good. It was just at the beginning of the social blogging, and it was funny because luckily, again, we happened to be monitoring it, and somebody said, but I just bought these on eBay. And it was something we forgot totally to do, that most, you don't usually buy food or anything on eBay, but this was a device. And it was amazing. I had to start monitoring eBay, and anytime it came up, I had to send the person an email, and then of course it cost me money to buy it from them, plus shipping, plus PayPal. But it's the little things that you can go forward and just remind your companies, it's not really food, they don't sell Skippy, I hope. I didn't even think to look. But the devices, or if you're in other areas where you have recall products, just remember some of these other outlets that you've got, just to be aware of them. And we found out of that from just a comment that came into us. So.
I think the fix for some companies, if it's an ingredient from a supplier that was the cause, sometimes the announced fix is, well, we've changed suppliers. We're no longer using ingredients from such and such a supplier, basically throwing the supplier under the bus. And I'm a little concerned when that's the fix and companies over-reassure with headlines like, our product is perfectly safe. Because you're putting yourself out there, and knock on wood, you don't have a problem in the next 6 months to a year where you've essentially lost credibility by over-reassuring your consumers on the safety. I think you can tell them what you've done, what you are doing to make sure that you have all of the QA processes in place in order to prevent a recurrence, but you can't guarantee you won't have another problem down the line.